grading system for the courseworks. By the way, the system is well adapted by all the departments in the college. Its premise is that the grades are a system of communication and therefore are worthless unless everyone uses them the same way. We should transfer this so that employers and graduate school will know how well you students have performed. Here's how the country will interpret the grade we give. Yeah, you student did always as could be expected. The student did as well as could be expected with some flaws. She, the student, met the renewal requirements for the course. The student learned some of the material that did not meet the minimum requirements. The student learned little or none of the material that is to he failed. There's no point in the saying that written ought to mean something else. For instance, that she ought to mean average. When you speak language, you have to use it the way people use it, or they want to understand it. Yeah, so your grade is universal and follows the standards of the country exactly. Also, grades measures result, not effort. You are not on Sesame Street anymore, folks. It may change the world to grade on effort, rewarding hard work with higher grades, even in the absence of measurable results. This, however, would work in practice. I have no way to measure how hard each of you are doing. Mind you, despite recurring rumors, I am not a god. Anyway, yes. Well, may I say something? Okay, sure. Human effort does not count at all. It seems to me kind of unfair not to take into account the differences in things like natural aptitude and learning styles. Sorry, but the university gives a degree for mastering course material, not for enduring drudgery, and the grades are part of the degree. No matter how much you sweat in the process, it doesn't count unless you cross the finish line. Would you rather be operated on by a doctor who held time and got his passing grade on effort? The grading on effort can consider incompetence, or at best, send you into advanced courses for which you aren't prepared. When you put it that way, yeah, it makes sense. So, alright then. Now that we are on the same page, there is one more thing I'd like to mention, that is grades are not numbers. We use numbers to make certain that the grades are given fairly, but the grade itself is a teacher's professional judgment over a student's mastery of the subject. It doesn't no good to tell the world that you scored between 18 and 19 on the exam unless I also tell the world exactly what is on the exam. Likewise, it makes little sense to issue arbitrary declarations that B is 80 to 90. The university published the course description, not the exam. But you give a range A's, B's, and C's, alright? Like B's is 80 to 90, with a percent for A's, B's, and C's, like top 10% get F's and bottom 10% get L's, or something like that. I think it is a very precise and fair way of grading. Are you sure? Well, that's our high school teachers always told us. It's the fairest method of giving grade, and he gave us a range of score each other, was he wrong? Oh yeah, of course I'll give you grade ranges, but not percentage. You are talking two different things. There is no percentages on certain, as I say. You know why? Because the student should be graded against the course requirements, not against the student. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure a certain amount of competition among you guys is very healthy, but you shouldn't suffer because your fellow students don't benefit because they do badly. Do you know where I'm coming from? The graduate school employer will want to know whether you master the contents of the school, not whether your fellow student failed to do so. Yes, your high school teacher was wrong. Do you see that now? Completely. Alright. This method of giving grades based on how our students were compared is called a grading on the curve. You may handle it because our standardized test uses. But what most non-statisticians don't realize is that grading on the curve works well only when the class is enormous, with perhaps 1,000 students, and only when the student performance is known to be constant over time. Alas, we adjust models and our performance can fluctuate from year to year or from day to day for that matter. So in the class of around 50 records, random variation will surely invalidate any attempts to give A's and B's and C's to fixed percentage of the class. Believe me, I make a living being a statistician. On the top of that, grading on a curve allows the standards to sink to any depth, as long as all students sink together. A scary thought, isn't it? Oh, by the way, I refer all the cases suspected of cheating to the Office of Judicial Program, and this may sound a bit heavy-handed. Student confidential investigation by experts, followed by a fair hearing. Of course, if it's proven that he was indeed dishonest, he gets the F that he earned. I wouldn't do anything other than that.